Hello, welcome to Sideways. Well, as is so often the case, the weather forecast got it wrong this morning, or more specifically, when I asked my Alexa what the temperature was, it said 11 degrees. And so I thought, better take a sweatshirt. Absolutely boiling out here, ridiculous. Anyway, we're preparing ourselves for the latest heat wave. As far as I'm concerned, a heat wave is any time the temperature rises above about 20. So basically summer is a heat wave for me. Anyway, enough about my frustrations. This week we're talking about the very important topic of choosing the right sponsor if you're a part of one of the fellowships. And there's lots of red flags to look for, and Martin lists them all very eloquently for us, so you won't want to miss that one. And also, if you're someone who has a wearable device, then if you also have a liking for rock music, you might need to be a little bit careful if you find yourself in the mosh pit, because there have been reports that emergency services have been getting signals from people's wearable devices to suggest that they've had an accident, when in fact they're just dancing around to Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. Anyway, finding the right sponsor.
Okay, so good evening.
Okay, so good evening to you. Back with the Aurora Borealis then?
Yeah, I thought I'd switch back, mate.
You're not happy with the palm trees then?
No, I just thought it's just leaving it the same.
Oh, you like the consistency of it?
I do. I think if I just kept using the same one, though, I think it would show a lack of inventiveness, wouldn't that somewhat?
I use the same one every time. What are you trying to say?
Take from that what you will.
Well, what I'm doing is developing the brand.
Are you? And you're doing it very well, I must say. Yeah. I'm
although you can't really read Sideways properly, can you?
No, it just is Dewa. But I'm all right with that. I know what.
Why don't we just call this Dewa?
Dewa, yeah. It won't then be confused with any Channel 4.
Radio 4.
Was it Radio 4 that had a Sideways thing on?
Yeah, it's a significantly more popular podcast than ours.
Can't understand why, can you, mate?
No, I can't really. No. There's definitely less humour in it because I've listened to it.
Have you?
Yeah, it's not all that funny at all.
Is it not? Well, they're missing a trick then, aren't they?
I think so.
What's it about?
It's, I don't know really. I don't know. That's a very good question. That's a good question. Is that a quality or not? That you've listened to something, you can't really say what it's about.
Oh, I wouldn't think that's a very good quality, would you?
Well, basically, what we're saying is that the other Sideways isn't as good as this. Is that what we're saying? What are you trying? What are you doing? What are you faffing about with?
Oh no, my microphone didn't seem to be working properly.
Oh, well, that's good because that means we won't be able to hear you.
Yeah, well, that's what I was worried about, but I think we're all right now.
Actually, we will need to hear you on this week's episode, won't we?
We will, because we're talking about something which is very recovery focused, recovery oriented. So, although I think the notes I've got here does lead quite nicely to your involvement as well. So,
does it?
We're all right.
You didn't want to make me feel left out because
no, I didn't.
If it is very sort of recovery centric and right in your sort of ballpark, I'm quite happy to go back and carry on watching Germany-Denmark.
Oh, yeah, well,
you give me a shout when you get to one of the features that I need to be involved with.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure it'll scan quite as we would hope, but we'll try. Okay. I mean, this is what I'm talking about here is all about, if you go into a 12-step program like AA or
CA, NA. What else is there? What other A's are there?
GA, Gamblers Anonymous.
Oh, okay, yeah.
SLA, Sex and Love Anonymous.
I'd not heard of that one.
Yeah, it's not that popular around this era neck of the woods, but it's it is one that's up and running. But when you go to a fellowship meeting, certainly after you've been going perhaps for a few times and you're new into recovery,
Yeah.
you will get the chance to either approach someone to be your sponsor,
Yeah.
or someone to approach you and say, they're happy to be your sponsor. And the sponsor's job then is to sort of take you through the 12 steps,
Yeah.
and to help you progress in your recovery via the fellowship that you're in.
Yeah. Understood.
It is, but because it's a fellow traveller, if you like, you find that you're sometimes you get the wrong one, or sometimes you may go through several before you get the correct one. With the best one in the world, it's the same with choosing a counsellor or a therapist, isn't it? You can go through several before you get the right one. So this is not a dig at the situation with the fellowships. This is just reporting back on reality, because it often comes up in groups. And people have asked in the past to sort of, they'd like to know more info on this. So I've got a few scrappy notes together on my experience of this over the years, and did a bit of research and come up with a cobbled together episode. So here we are.
Good. So you're really selling it.
I think so. I think so. I'm just showing a bit of humility, which is the backbone of recovery.
Yeah, I can. I just as your reference to the similarity with therapy. I mean, I can think of lots of people who've cycled through me before they found the right therapy.
My God, one sesh, that was enough. Out.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, good.
But before we start, though, just a couple of things. There was this an article I was reading about the police being quite concerned about mobiles and like the wearable technology, like on your wrists and stuff.
What this?
Yeah, that sort of thing, which automatically contacts the emergency service if the suspect has been in an accident.
Yeah.
It's got that sort of sensor within it.
Or if you have a fall.
If you have a fall or something like that. What's unfortunately, there's been a bit of a spike in calls by people having these devices with them.
Yeah.
And when they enthusiastically involve themselves in mosh pits at festivals. Yeah, so suddenly that will activate it. It rings the police. They ring you back, and you can't hear them because the music's too loud. And they're getting quite concerned about that. But I thought it was quite a nice little circle of pain there.
Yeah. So you're at an Iron Maiden gig,
or whatever. Yeah, whatever.
And you're giving it large.
Yeah.
And the police are on the blower, thinking you've had a fall.
Yeah. When basically you've just been knocked about a bit by a few bikers and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Whilst you're dancing around to Number of the Beast.
Exactly that. Yeah. So be careful out there, kids. Don't do that.
Yeah. So I suppose one of the ways in which the police or the emergency services could mitigate this would be to plot you on a map, because I mean they must be able to find you, mustn't they? Because otherwise they wouldn't be able to help you. So if they've seen someone's fallen over in Wembley Stadium, it's probably either Harry Kane or someone at a gig.
Or someone at a gig. But if they had a little GPS dot that kept flitting around and going around in a circle and then suddenly stopping as they got knocked to the ground, they'd say, he's in a mosh pit, or she's in a mosh pit.
Yeah, so as much as there is there's a necessity for some responsibility on the part of the wearer, I think the emergency services need to, take a breath, just check that the person you're worried about might not be in a mosh pit.
Not quite. Yeah, they need to up their game a little bit, don't they?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Before they start pushing blame onto the poor moshers. Exactly. Yeah.
Before they start ringing up people enjoying themselves at gigs.
That's the last thing you want, isn't it? The police on the blower.
That'd really put a kink in your evening, wouldn't it?
It would really. Getting your head down to a bit of Motorhead or something. Bosh, done. Off you go. Anyway, so I thought it was quite funny that, but obviously the police don't think it's funny at all.
No, I don't suppose they do.
Makes it even funnier, really, doesn't it?
Well, they should be grateful that we're not still in the days where Caroline Road shows were prevalent, because you'd have no chance then, because there was Caroline Road shows all over the place, wasn't there?
They were, yeah.
And
I used to fall over regularly at those.
Definitely. In fact, it wasn't a proper night out unless you fell over at one, was it?
Unless you either got assaulted or you just got drunk and fell over.
Unless you had most of the Corn Exchange floor on your knees, you hadn't had a good night out, had you?
Exactly. Yeah. Another thing that actually, I wonder how this would make you feel. So I'm going to put this to you. Right?
What, me personally?
You personally.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So a situation occurred in Norway. Okay, now they run a national lottery.
Yeah.
And they incorrectly told 47,000 people that they'd won a very large amount, close to the jackpot. Okay, when in fact they'd won pittance, a couple of krona or whatever, and that was it. It was just a technical glitch. And now, apparently, by the time they'd sorted it out, some people had already started to spend the money. Now that
really,
yeah. So what's your take on that little scenario?
Okay, so I did see this headline. I didn't read the report, but I did notice it. I think my take is, well, more fool them for spending the money before they've got it.
Quite.
I mean, that reminds me of my old days in the corporate world where people complained about the bonus or the bonus they didn't get at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And they said, well, I've got to pay for my extension. And I always used to think, well, don't spend your bonus before you've got it.
Quite, yeah.
Because that's just foolish. And the other thing that it makes me think about is I don't play the lottery, so I'm never going to be in that position.
Well, that's it. You've sidestepped that potential issue.
I think I have, yeah. I mean, having said all that, had I bought a lottery ticket and been told by the government that I'd won £1 million, and then I said, oh, no, sorry, it was a fiver after all, I probably would be miffed.
You would
I've got to be honest. Only human, aren't I?
Yeah, you are, after all. And
because I would have thought about how I was going to use that, and I'd have spent a few enjoyable days being excited and thinking about spending my winnings, then to be told that I just about had enough for a couple of pints of milk and a bag of crisps.
Yeah, Magnum. But I think I think that you're right. I think the joy of spending it in your head was okay, but it would have been horrible. But actually physically spending it and then find yourself hideously in debt, people got to have a close look at themselves. Yeah,
no, I've got no sympathy for that, I'm afraid.
No. Anyway, I thought there's a couple of that would spike your interest as far as your opinion is concerned on that one.
So a couple of quite humorous stories, but with a serious undertone. So there's a message in there, isn't there?
There is.
Be careful when you're out in a mosh pit.
Yeah.
And don't spend money you don't have.
Yeah. Although if you can't hear your phone, the lottery people might be ringing you to say you've won £1 million, and you miss it because you're moshing.
Yeah, I don't think they could. They couldn't say, "Oh, I couldn't get through to him. I'm not going to give it to him." Then could they? Let's have a redraw. I don't think they can do that.
I think that's unlikely. I think they take a little bit of. They keep the tickets back and try and search for ages. Like 6 months or something.
Oh, the last time you went to a gig, wouldn't it? You thought that gig that cost me a lottery win because they couldn't get hold of me and they rolled. They picked the balls out of the thing again.
Yeah.
I think I'd just stay in. Well, I do anyway, mate.
Yeah, I was going to say, you haven't been out to too many gigs recently, I don't think, have you?
I'm not going to miss a call from the lottery people.
No, you're not. No, on a number of accounts. But anyway, should we get on to what we're supposed to be talking about?
Yes, let's do that.
So the sponsor for someone who's newly joining a fellowship. Well, it can be the difference between success and failure. But I think, as we know, as we've already spoken about, every sponsor is not perfect for every addict, and that's people might go through several sponsors before they find the right one, and some never do. So it's far from an ideal situation. But there's a few warning signs I just would go through with you that potentially show if you have picked up with a sponsor. If something you should there's some red flags here that you may consider perhaps moving on to a fresh sponsor.
I'm going to make a couple of notes so I don't forget a couple of questions that I want to ask you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. The first one, now I have come across this where the sponsor spends more time talking about themselves than talking about you. So someone that's heavily ingrained in their own recovery, which they would be if they're going to be a sponsor.
Yeah.
But they have, if they got their own substance abuse issues, then obviously they'll have their own sponsor. But if they're unloading their emotional baggage onto you, it's sort of it indicates a sort of self-centeredness, doesn't it?
Yes, it's a kind of sounds like an overspill of the selfishness that we've concluded in the past is a necessary part of recovery.
Exactly. Yeah.
But when that starts to impact someone else's recovery, that's not great, is it?
No, it's not. It's sort of inimical to your interests.
Oh,
I know.
that's not a word that's been used on the pod.
No, inimical. I couldn't even say it at first when I first read it. Inimical. Inimical.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that word.
No, it means harmful.
I think I can say honestly, I've never used that in my life.
Nor have I, and I probably won't ever again because it's difficult to say, but it does mean harmful or obstructive. So yeah, so that's a big red flag if they talk all the time. The second one, which again I've known people fall into this category, where the sponsor sort of displays a cynical or a pessimistic attitude, because if they got a negative mindset, that goes hand in hand with addiction when you're in active addiction. However, it doesn't go hand in hand with recovery. You need.
Are you talking about a sort of a cynical way of leading someone through the steps? Oh, well, you've got to do this, but
that sort of attitude. So they're throwing it's sort of a negative impact upon the step work itself, but it could be regarding recovery altogether. I've known people that sort of white knuckle their recovery.
Yeah. So how do these people become sponsors then?
I don't know, but they do, because perhaps they're waiting perhaps for for a sudden a bit of inspiration or something. If they stick with it long enough, suddenly they'll start to enjoy recovery rather than resent it.
I mean, I don't know the process in the fellowships for choosing sponsors and so on, but I imagine is this the case that if you, I don't know, let's say you join a group and you've been going for a while and you've kind of struck up a relationship with someone who's been there for longer, year, 2 years, 5 years, and that person might not be a sponsor now, but you feel as if your relationship with them is such that you'd like them to be your sponsor.
Yeah.
And you'd approach them and you'd say, would you be my sponsor? And bang, there you go. Well, inherent in that is a problem, isn't it? Because not everybody is suited to supporting other people through change generally, but certainly not through change of that significance.
It's not. And I'm often worried about them, the sponsor themselves, then getting dragged into someone else's life that can upset their own recovery. Yeah. So you have to be very careful there. That's for sure. But the other way that it happens, obviously, the sponsor will potentially approach someone who's looking a bit lost at the meeting and say, "Do you know what? You've been coming a few times now. How much for you? Do you need some help?" And so on and so forth. And end up being their sponsor. But again, that could have the same issues as far as compatibility is concerned.
It could, but I think that, I don't know. My instinct is that feels healthier.
Yeah.
Because that suggests, doesn't it, that somebody is, their kind of locus of attention is on other people, is external rather than internal. They're not kind of completely absorbed by what they're doing and how they're feeling. Yeah. They're noticing the absence of involvement of someone who's quite new, and they're reaching out and they're saying, do you want some help? Do you want some support? That feels like a kind of healthier, or is likely to be a more successful union.
It does. I'd agree that way around. You'd think would be more successful. That's for sure.
Perhaps that's what I should do. Perhaps I should go out into the streets and approach people who look a bit miserable and say, "You look as if you could do some therapy."
A little bit of therapy, yeah. I don't know.
Here's my card.
Well, you throw a stone in Maidstone, you'd hit someone that would need therapy. That's for sure, wouldn't you?
Well, I think that would probably be true everywhere, but I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure it's really the right way of getting people into therapy.
It lacks a sort of bit of moral, professional ethic, I'd say. Anyway, where did we get to? Yeah, the next one is about the sponsor has trouble finding time for you. Okay, so you hook up with a sponsor, and you suddenly find that he's this is a voluntary job, so you can't expect to have sort of minute by minute interaction with people. But if people aren't coming back to you, they're not finding that they got time for you, then again, that's a bit of a red flag. Now, I've known this happen where perhaps a sponsor is sponsoring more than one person. Okay, so spreading themselves a bit too thinly, which isn't encouraged in the fellowships, but it does happen. And I know that I've known people that have got a sponsor, and then there's no contacts.
I've known this happen too.
You have?
Yeah, people have said this. People have spoken to me about this, and actually, in the cases that I can think of, it's not so much. Well, I suppose one could argue this does put their recovery in jeopardy, but it isn't so much that in those instances it directly jeopardised their recovery, but it did make them feel less valuable.
Yeah.
Which in the long run is likely to jeopardise your recovery, isn't it? It's like, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I'm not doing it right. Maybe they're fed up with me. Maybe I can't, I'm not moving fast enough. All that sort of stuff, which is, not great for your recovery, is it?
It's very counterproductive. You're right. You're right. But also, as equally as counterproductive is when the sponsor he may contact you regularly, but he'll just agree with everything you say, especially when it comes to blaming other people. So someone's rung up their sponsor, said, I've had trouble with my partner indoors and they forced me to drink again. And the sponsor said, yeah, horrible people, yeah. And because we know the blame game is massive when you're in active addiction. So if a sponsor just walks alongside you rather than challenges you a little bit, then he's probably not the right person.
Yeah, we talked about this, didn't we? When we talked I can't remember what episode it was, but we were talking about the importance of generally in life having at least somebody around you who's going to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, we have spoken that.
With our friends tend to be kind of pretty flexible with us and not really hold us to account. But you do need someone when you're, potentially facing a very poor decision, someone who's going to say to you, I'm not sure this is the right thing for you, and kind of risk a little bit of conflict in that. And I suppose in that relationship, you need to have the willingness to do that as well, don't you?
You do. There's got to be some sort of boundary there, almost like a professional boundary, hasn't there? Whereas you say friends could be potentially a little bit over lenient. The sponsor should be able to look at it a little bit more impartially.
Yeah.
Another one is when the sponsor is. You may have come across this as well. The sponsor is rigid in their approach. Okay. Now
this is the one I was thinking of.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So because every person's, I know you don't like the word journey, but everyone's recovery journey is different, and we do get dogma creep in. But the dogma can come from the top of the particular fellowship that you're involved in.
Yeah.
That says, if you don't do this, you're never going to get well. Mm-hmm. Now, I know from my own personal experience, and I should have said this right at the beginning of this episode, really, that I've never had a sponsor. Okay, I went to AA.
Fellowships didn't work for you.
They did, and that's what I'm saying. I went to the fellowship. I got my 4-month chip, and then decided that there was other ways to do it. So when someone at fellowship, you pick up with a sponsor, says, "Well, if you don't do this, you're going to remain, in the madness forever. This is the only way forward," which I've heard a lot. Then you should be changing your sponsor.
Yeah, that's the one I've heard most commonly. And I've heard it from people who have changed their sponsors. And I've also heard it from people who, as a result of that, became disillusioned with the entire fellowship process. Yeah, it
can be quite dangerous.
Yeah, but I suppose if you're in the fellowship, you'd probably say, well, that's the way it goes. It's our way or the highway. And, if you drop out, then that's because you're not committed to recovery. I guess that's what their argument would be, right?
Well, yeah, but the thing is, certainly with the peer support groups I've been running over the years, we offer respect back and say to go to the fellowships as well and come to us as well. No, there's no one particular journey, but we're not afforded that same respect back. The fellowship, we don't get it back from the fellowship. But from our point of view, you pick and choose. It's like a bit of a pick and mix, really. You pick up the bits that work for you. So yes, you're right in what you say, but again, I think it's equally dangerous.
I can still smell the pick and mix in Woolworths. If I think about it, I can remember the smell. Can you?
I can remember the smell of Woolworths more than the actual pick and mix.
I reckon the smell of Woolworths was pick and mix.
Okay.
And a few records.
Well, I could. Yeah. I always remember the smell of they used to use this floor polish at night, and if you went in the morning, there was a certain Woolworth smell about it, which I can still. Sometimes you get, I smell something similar and think, oh yeah, Woolies.
Yeah.
I go rushing for the cheap 45 singles rack,
Oh yeah, the reduced bin.
the reduced bin where they've been in
Yeah.
the charts, come out, no one had bought it, and you think, oh, you'd have a little flick through, see what you can
Yeah,
find.
you could probably pick up some paper lace in there.
You
or
could
the
get there was a
Rubex,
lot.
couldn't you? Probably.
I think I picked up some good stuff. Well, I thought was good, but no one else did.
Yeah. Yeah, I
is
mean,
why it ended up in the bin.
you might even get some metal and then find yourself moshing in your bedroom and the police calling you.
We've got the full circle on that. And it's, yeah, we go now. Where you throw me off where I was now?
Don't blame me. Take a bit of responsibility.
I am. I'm using the blame game. I'm a red flag sponsor. Yeah, no, this one that might be quite close to your heart.
Okay.
Your sponsors should never be trying to psychoanalyze you.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah.
So they drift in. Their responsibility is obviously taking you through the 12 steps. But suddenly, someone that's been in recovery a long time would perhaps try to take the place of someone like yourself, which is again can be equally as dangerous.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely. I'm sure that's true, and I think the reason that happens a lot is because instinctively we, as humans, we kind of want to fix things when we see them, and so when someone's telling you about things they're finding difficult, there is a human instinct to try and say something that's going to make it better. I mean, you know, as therapists, we don't do that, and we're trained not to, but that sort of. I think it's quite hard sometimes to resist what you need to do is.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I think we're all can be guilty of that. That's for sure. Especially,
Yeah, right. Sorry, go on.
No, especially if it's something you've seen lots of people do and replicated it and have been successful at it.
Yeah, rather than it's ironic really because I guess if you're a sponsor, I mean, apart from the specific responsibilities you have, some therapeutic behaviour is actually quite useful because you do want to open up a space for someone just to be able to talk about how they're getting on with stuff, don't you?
Yeah.
That's kind of part of what that sponsor role is. But I think sometimes people confuse what they're supposed to be doing with, you know, wanting to. And I suppose this must happen as well, that people want to impart their wisdom, don't they?
Yeah, yeah.
I want to show you that I'm an expert and I know how to do this, which is also not very helpful.
It isn't, but it's all part of also when you go into recovery, you suddenly get this. It gives you a chance to. It gives you you can polish your self-esteem via that method.
Yeah.
Which you know everyone wants to increase their self-esteem, which you do when you go into recovery. But yeah, it can be ill-advised to do that. That's
because in a sponsorship role it is, isn't it? Because what you're really doing is you're making yourself feel better through your sponsorship of someone else, and that's no good. If you want to be a good sponsor, then for the time that you're sponsoring that person, you are setting aside yourself and thinking about what it is that they need. And, you know, which is why I think if you're going to be a sponsor, you need to feel pretty secure in your own recovery, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah. Most fellowships would have a minimum of a year recovery before you can go on to sponsor. Some of them have a longer term. So yeah, there is a bit of a safeguard in there. But if you are trying to psychoanalyze, you end up treating that person as like a client, really, rather than a fellow recovering addict, which is.
Then you charge them at the end of the.
And which obviously they don't do, but. And they're not qualified to do so either.
No.
The next one, which again I've known people fall into this category when they've been running groups as well, where a sponsor can spend more time. They spend more time. I'm just putting this in the right way, but they spend less time listening and more time speaking. That's what I'm trying to say. So a sponsor. You know, like a therapist, really, you should be there just as to lend an ear on many occasions, rather than trying to force the narrative.
Yeah, because otherwise the sponsee isn't making their own progress, are they?
No, quite.
It becomes a lecture rather than an environment in which they can blossom.
Yeah, I think a good sponsor needs to be a true sounding board. And it is giving that opportunity for the other person to speak and offload and to talk about their issues, rather than coming out and telling them again, going back to that to a previous red flag there, where people talk way too much about themselves.
So a good thing to remember for a sponsor would be you have one mouth and two ears for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, well, a great way of putting it. It sounds like something that's come up in your therapy training, is it?
No, I don't know where I heard that. It's, I think, isn't that quite a commonly known phrase?
Yeah.
I don't know where I came. It's anyway.
There's only a couple of more warning signs here, really. A couple of more red flags.
There's a lot of warning signs, aren't there?
There are, and I will caveat that at the end. But there is. Now, I haven't come across this, but just in my research, apparently it's perhaps more common than you'd like to think, is when your sponsor will have you running personal errands for them.
Really?
Yeah, like, picking up the laundry or babysitting his kids or whatever. You're washing his car. Yeah, I've never...
Washing his car?
I've never come across it.
Oh, my God. I heard, how would anyone have the brass neck to...
I don't know.
To do that? Yeah, could you just pop down the shops for me?
Yeah, well, I think it's a power trip, isn't it?
Dear, oh dear, that feels incredibly toxic.
It does, and it's probably one we can almost put to one side, but apparently it does crop up. But personally, never come across it or heard.
Oh, I'm sure it does pop up because you know, people who are in the early stages of recovery are very vulnerable and impressionable, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
Yeah,
they're almost cuckooing them, aren't they?
Did you have to wash anyone's car when you were early in recovery?
No, I didn't have one of my own to wash either. So it was, I didn't have a sponge or a bucket. I was down to my last brass farthing. Anyway, the last one really is just about trusting your instincts. Often your instincts would tell you that some of those red flags may have been raised and you've ignored them, or you've put perhaps put some reasons aside, or reasons why they should continue rather than reasons they shouldn't.
Okay, so now I can ask my question because it fits quite nicely in here.
Okay.
So you're new in recovery. You've joined a fellowship. You feel as if you're getting good stuff from the fellowship. You've got a sponsor. You've seen one or more of these red flags.
Yeah.
Isn't it going to be hard for you to do something about it early in recovery?
It is.
So how do you address that? Because that's, I think you've got to be pretty assertive in order to do that. So I wonder how people manage to extricate themselves from unhelpful. I can't think of the word now.
No.
Sponsor relationships.
Yeah. What normally happens in those situations, they'll approach someone else and say, would you better take over my sponsorship because I'm not really getting on with that previous person.
Right.
And so if you find someone that will, then the two of you can approach the old sponsor.
Okay.
So it shares the responsibility.
Right. So you tap up and use
you do. You get one lined up. You have a plan B.
Yeah.
Before you address the fact that plan A hasn't worked.
Okay, that's fair enough, isn't it? Because then you're getting a little bit of strength from the support of your new sponsor.
Yeah.
And
or the new sponsor may take the whole responsibility on themselves. That's all right. I know him. I've known him for a long time.
Yeah.
He'd be fine. I know how to tackle him or her.
Yeah.
I'll speak to them. Don't worry about that, mate. I'll leave it to me.
Yeah. And then you get a new sponsor and you find more red flags.
And he's got a bigger car to wash.
He's got a massive garden and no ride-on mower.
Yeah, out of the frying pan into the fire. But I know people do change sponsors regularly.
Yeah.
So it's not a perfect system, but it's probably the best that you can hope for.
Yeah.
But it's just be careful that some of these red flags might crop up quite early on.
Yeah.
But again, I was going to caveat all of what I've said here because I know people that are very good sponsors and have done sterling jobs. The vast majority of sponsors are great.
It's like anything, isn't it? Probably the majority of the time you'll have a very good experience. But But it is important to do something if you don't.
It is, and I think it's just if you do choose a sponsor. and you do see something which you're not keen on or something crops up, be brave enough to approach someone else and to take over that. Don't get stuck and think, oh, do you know what? He's a nice bloke, but I'm not getting quite what I need from him or whatever.
So if you turn up the first day when you're supposed to have a meeting with him and he's got a mop and bucket ready for it.
Ready for it, yeah. Exactly. Consider your options.
It's time to tap up a new sponsor.
That's about it, right? As well. I've come to the end of my notes.
Very good. That was very educational. I enjoyed that.
Thank you. And I think, your input was valuable because you've come across it.
Thank you very much.
And you can relate it back to your therapy career. So, good work.
Lovely. Oh, we've both done well, haven't we?
Oh, I think should we pat ourselves on the back?
Yeah, well done.
Well done us.
Yeah.
Well, we'll defer that until we've done the rest of it, shall we?
Yeah,
we might fuck up from here on in.
Yeah, we could do.
Should we go on to the conundrum feature?
Yeah. Now I've got an interesting small departure for you this week because I suppose it's. I mean, this is kind of morality, but it's perhaps a little bit broader than that. I don't know if you saw this story, but I know you kind of take a faint interest in the cricket. But and apologies for those of you listening who don't have any interest in cricket. But I think even though this is a cricket example, the broader point will make sense.
Okay.
So the South African cricket captain yesterday or the day before declared his team's innings when he was on 367 runs. Right, he'd scored 367 personally.
Yeah.
The world record is 400 runs, I think, which is held by the great West Indian batsman Brian Lara. Right?
Yeah.
Now, one of the reasons he gave for declaring on 367 was, he said that he thought it was right for the team, which is fair enough. But he also said that he felt that Brian Lara, being such a legend of the game, deserved to keep hold of that record, right?
Okay.
Now, that made me think about whether you believe that records are there to be broken, and should we ever defer to others, believing them to be of superior quality or more deserving than us? And if we do that, is that sort of humility helpful to us? How about that?
Oh, there's a lot of questions in there. There are a lot of questions. I'd imagine the South African captain has done exactly the right thing of putting the team first, because the reason you declare is so you can put the other team into bat. Because of the time you've got left, you need to bowl them out. Yeah.
So I was totally on board with that bit. I think Brian Lara should hold on to that record. Now, in one respect, that's a very generous, magnanimous thing to say. But it did leave me thinking, is that right? That you should declare someone else more deserving of something than you, even though you potentially could have achieved it?
You don't know what her thought process is actually going through at that time. But it reminds me of, I don't know if you remember when Gary Lineker was playing for England in the football.
Yeah.
And I was actually at the match against Brazil when he had a penalty to take.
Yeah.
If he'd scored that penalty, he would have equalled Bobby Charlton's record.
Yeah.
And he tried to do a little Panenka and absolutely scuffed it along the turf, and it just rolled into the keeper's hands, basically. So he really messed it up.
Yeah.
And then he went on to have 3 or 4 further games for England and never scored. And he said afterwards, they asked him about, you were in reach of Bobby Charlton's record. And he said, no, I'm not worried about it. Bobby Charlton was a much better player than I was anyway. So he was doing that after he'd failed, though. In the cricket situation...
It's the same thing, isn't it? It's the same thing. It's that I have concluded that this person is more deserving of holding that.
Yeah.
That just felt to me to be an interesting position to adopt.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, in the Gary Lineker situation, had he scored another goal, he wouldn't have tarnished Bobby Charlton's reputation, would he? He just would have happened to have scored more goals.
No, I often felt when I heard that, the way that Gary Lineker responded, he's almost making an excuse for him not getting the record, to almost make himself feel a little bit better when perhaps he didn't believe it.
Oh, okay.
So I think there was another side to it.
But you sound as if you're broadly in agreement with the idea that one could make a decision that someone else, because they're of greater quality in your estimation is more deserving of holding a record.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
I think I am. I've not thought it. I may come back at another time and think, actually, I've had a rethink on this. But
Well, it'll be too late at another time because I won't be interested in talking to you about it.
well, no, and I won't.
Oh, I've lost you. You've disappeared. I can't hear you. Your sound's completely gone. Can you hear me?
I can hear you all right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything of the last bit that you said.
Okay, get me now.
Yeah, I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay, I don't know why the microphone's... I had trouble with it, didn't I, right at the start there? So I don't know why it was...
It probably cut out because you were going to make a witty comeback at my...
It probably...
At my statement that I wouldn't speak to you about it again. This was your only chance.
Oh, yeah, I had a brilliant one, but I'm not going back over it again now. We'll leave it.
Yeah, let's just leave it. Because it is getting late now and I'm quite hungry.
Yeah, me too. The moment's gone, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we'll get on to the gratitude list, shall we?
Yeah, well, is it you? I think it's probably you first this time.
Okay, well, something quite simple, really, but I'm quite grateful for my new debit card turning up. No, that seems quite small. Well, it's just that my old one they normally run for a couple of years, don't they? And then, the bank will then say, or you realise I've started to get people contact me and say, look, your card's running out. We won't be able to take the next payment. And I was starting to panic because I thought I haven't heard anything.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't heard anything from the bank. I need to log the new details with various institutions.
So it's a question of relief.
It was a question of relief. So I was grateful when it actually turned up, and it doesn't run out to the end of the month, but I was still getting a little bit jittery and thinking, I end up the last day and I can't access my money, and you know what it's like.
You thought you'd be on the streets.
I did.
Under the subway or whatever.
I catastrophised straight away. But luckily it turned up today, so I was grateful for that.
Okay, so what sounded as if it was a rather sort of mundane example is really because it turned up, I don't feel so anxious.
Yeah, exactly. It got in front of my anxiety eventually, yeah.
I think that's fair enough then.
Thank you. Yeah. What about yourself?
Well, I made a little list actually.
You're proper grateful these days.
Well, the thing is, I'm not going to tell you all the things that are on my list, but then after I made my list, I thought, well, I feel grateful for these things today, but what happens next week if I'm looking for an item from my gratitude list and I think, I don't feel grateful for that today? So anyway, it might turn out to be a complete false economy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to choose rain this week.
Okay. Go on, I sort of know why.
Because we've had a lot of rain this week, haven't we?
Yeah.
I mean, quite torrential, and the gardens needed it. And to be honest, I quite like watering the garden, but it's a bit of a ball ache every single day.
Yeah.
And so I've been able to have a couple of days off watering the garden because nature did it for me, and so I feel quite grateful for that. And I could go through the rest of summer like that. We can have some nice, pleasant weather like we're having at the moment, and rain at night, and that'll take me through happily to October. I don't need any of those stupid 30-degree temperatures or no rain. None of that rubbish.
No, you want to balance.
Give it a little bit of rain,
yeah.
22, 23 degrees, lovely. And then we'll get cracking on with the autumn in a little bit. What do you reckon of that?
Well, as you know, I haven't got a garden, so I haven't got that pressure to have it watered.
Yeah, that's true.
So I thought the rain was horrible because the roads were flooded on the way to work, and it was it wasn't pleasant at all. So no,
I feel even more grateful for it. I feel even more grateful for it now that I know it irritated you.
It irritated the hell out of me. Nearly made me late for work. And one puddle I didn't see until the last moment. And when you hit a puddle quickly, it sprays everything and everyone around you. So you've got to be really careful.
Yeah. Yeah. Still, at least you were in the car, so it didn't get you wet.
I was in the car, exactly. But no, I wasn't grateful for that at all. So I can't agree with you, but I appreciate your opinion.
Okay, well, thanks.
No problem. We'll go on to the best-selling albums, shall we?
Yeah, I did very well last time, didn't I? So I'm not expecting such a good performance.
Well, it's going to be quite tricky to describe these, really. But 1978, 88 and 98 we're doing.
All right.
So 1978... Now, it's a soundtrack to a film. So
okay, Grease.
No.
Am I on the right ballpark?
Absolutely on the right track. Yeah.
Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Biggest selling album.
How about that? That surprised you, didn't it? That surprised you that I knew that.
It's surprising.
I didn't know it. I mean, I didn't know.
Well, you got it wrong first. You said Greece. But,
All right.
you got in the right. You got in the right. right. In the right sort of area. So I was going to let it go until you started to get arrogant. The second one. 1980.
I can remember listening to How Deep Is Your Love at Stephen Gaylor's party.
I don't know who Stephen Gaylor is, but
I was at school with him, and that must have been 1978.
Right, okay. When most of us were listening to like punk, he was listening to Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah, and that's probably the sloppiest song on the album. Yeah. Anyway, but nothing new there. Right, sorry, go on.
88 then.
Yep.
Single woman, single vocalist. Known just by her, just in her own right.
Madonna?
No, Australian.
Australian. Oh. I
can see it on the tip of your tongue, dude.
Australian?
Yeah.
What year are we in?
88.
88. Oh, Kylie.
Kylie, yes.
Kylie. I've got no idea what the name of the album was. Probably Locomotion or something. I don't know.
No, it was called Kylie.
Oh, was it? Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know how you thought of that.
Well,
Yeah.
let's go. Yes, it's simple, isn't it?
It is simple, straight to the
I
point.
bet they had a really long marketing meeting with biscuits for that, don't you?
Yeah, set down. What should we call this? Oh, I don't know. Kylie? Yeah.
Let's run a few ideas up a flagpole, see who salutes it.
Yeah, they'd come up, wouldn't they? Locomotion, yeah.
Yeah.
Australian diva, all sorts of things.
Neighbours.
Neighbours, And then Kylie. Brilliant. That'll be £100,000, please, for coming up with that, yeah.
Okay, good.
1998.
Yeah.
Don't know how to explain this one, really.
Right. What can you give me on it?
I can't really give you anything. I have to tell you what
Can't
it
give
is.
me anything?
No,
Is it a compilation? Is it?
No, it's a group.
Right.
I think they're Irish.
Irish. Is it The Cause?
It is The Cause, yeah. Do you know any of The Cause albums?
Yeah, I've seen The Cause.
Have you?
Yeah.
They're Irish, aren't they?
Hang on, I think I might know the name of this album. I'm not going to be able to remember it. It's probably their first album. I've got the word corner or street or something in my head.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to give it. Did you want to have a guess more, or shall I give it to you?
Is it corner or street, or is it both?
No, it's corners.
Around all around all corners or something. On all corners.
No. I'll put you out your misery.
Just one cornetto.
Give it to me.
No, what is it?
It's called Talk on Corners.
Talk on Corners, yeah. That's the tour I saw them on at the
Was it?
Brighton Centre, yeah.
Yeah, right. Good.
They're still going,
Are they?
Yeah. That's quite good. I'm quite pleased with myself.
You've done very well so far, and you'll probably do all right with the footy. 77, 78 season. League champions.
Liverpool?
No, this is this. Go on. I can give you a little bit. No, I can give you a bit of clue. Although they're back in the Premiership now, they have been outside the top flight for a long time.
Nottingham Forest.
Exactly, yeah. Nottingham Forest.
Okay.
87, 88.
Liverpool,
yeah.
Yeah.
And 97, 98.
Man United? No. Was this Blackburn?
No.
No. Oh, no, that's earlier. Arsenal,
yeah.
Okay, so I think I did fair to middling this week.
I think you did. I think you just, better than fair, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I surprised myself getting The Cause, to be honest.
Yeah, it was brilliant, yeah. It was good.
I think probably Saturday Night Fever, though. That was... I'm going to go and play that now.
What was that one that he was playing? That's Stephen...
How Deep Is Your Love? Stephen Gaylor's party.
Stephen Gaylor's party.
Yeah, I could take you to his house if you want. He's over
Not
on
really,
Vincent's.
especially if you're still throwing parties. Don't invite me.
I don't think he lives there anymore. I think he probably moved out in the 70s. But
right, okay.
Yeah. Anyway,
he's grown up, moved on, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he probably doesn't listen to Saturday Night Fever anymore.
Who does? Who does?
All right.
All right. Go and get your dins on.
Yeah, I'm going to. See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.